How did it feel when you were in the Olympic Stadium? Can you perhaps tell us something that we didn't see on TV?
Hello everyone, nice to meet you all. Although I participate in the Olympics for 4 times, and I have only been able to take part in the get into the stadium only twice, as the sailing venue was always located far away from the stadium. And first time was in year 1992 Barcelona Olympic opening ceremony. That was my first time participate in the Olympic. I was really excited and honored taking part in the opening ceremony. And when I arrived there, I felt proud of myself being able to qualify for the Olympics. And you know what? On that night, athlete marched in at around 9 o'clock, and actually we were waiting at the waiting zone since 4 o'clock in the afternoon. During those 5 hours, we have no food, no drink, and no chairs was provided. And the impression I have is tiring. And the second time was in year 1996, Atlanta. That was in for the closing ceremony. And it's totally different. Since everyone finished all their races and we are all pressure-free, and athletes were sitting in the spectator zone and watching those joyful ceremony. And it's just like a celebration party. Everyone were having fun. And also on that date, I was a flag bearer and representing all the Hong Kong athletes holding the Hong Kong flag marching. It was a great honor to me.
My Olympic experience from an opening ceremony perspective, it's non-existent. Unfortunately, well, I was 14 when I went to Barcelona. I was the youngest athlete in the Hong Kong delegation. There were 8 swimmers, 7 boys and myself. And my coach at the time, Bill Sweetenham, he felt that, well, exactly what Sansan said. You know, the opening ceremony experience is really, really long. It's really, really tiring. And swimming is always first up. And I was the very first event, the very first heat. So there was no way I was going to be able to participate in the opening ceremony the day before. Looking back, to be honest, I wish I had gone because I wasn't going to get a medal. You know, I wish I had experienced the opening ceremony, but we chose to do things very professionally. So even though I was only 14, even though I had no hope in of winning a medal, Bill decided to teach me how to do things professionally. So I watched it from the screens inside the athletes' village. And to this day, I have never participated in an opening ceremony because of swimming being the first event. So the Asian Games, I've been to 2 Asian Games, never walked in one of those. East Asian Games, never walked in one of those. And also, I didn't even get to do the closing ceremony because swimming was over in the first week and we had to clear out of the athletes' village. So, yeah, so we finished swimming and I left, and I actually came back to Hong Kong to swim in my inter-school swimming. So, whereas some of the boys actually stayed on in Barcelona. They traveled around Spain and came back to participate in the closing ceremony 10 days later. I was on the first plane home and I swam at inter-school and the Hong Kong Championship. So that was, I mean, no regrets at all. But from a swimmer's perspective, it was a little bit different. And especially as a freestyler, we were always up first. So I never got to experience that, which is a little bit sad, but it is what it is.
You didn't miss much, actually.
Hong Kong started participating in the Olympics in 1952, and for 44 years we didn't manage to get a gold medal. So how did you feel when you got the first ever gold medal for Hong Kong? And thinking back, was there any special significance because of its proximity to the 1997 handover?
Thinking back to when I first received the medal, it definitely a great honor. And besides that, there are two main reasons make my medals meaningful to me. And first of all, it was a dream come true. I remember in year 1990, that was my first year, the Hong Kong team went to Europe for training, for competed in the Euro Olympic events. And at that time, our sailing technique were not good at all. And we finished most of the races either last or second last. And during the European Championship coaches meeting, one of the coaches started questioning why those allegedly rubbish athletes from Hong Kong were qualified for the event. And he mentioned that instead of wasting those opportunities, the chances goes to those elite athletes. And since then, I told myself I have to prove Hong Kong athletes from Hong Kong are not rubbish, and we are able to perform well in international level. When I won the medal, I didn't expect so much support the medal received from Hong Kong. I remember when the year I received the medal was close to 1997 handover, and people were not so sure about the future, and there were lots of uncertainty. So when they received the good news and brought them joy and hope in midst of those confusing atmosphere, and at that time I don't think anyone would expect a medal, and it was as if something people consider unachievable has been accomplished.
Could you share your experience of having to juggle between school and training? Yeah, Robert, I mean, we had so much homework and all these extracurricular activities at DGS, so how did you manage?
Life as an athlete, it's not easy. That's just the in and out of it. There are no shortcuts. So my schedule at the time was, when I joined the national squad, I was about 12 years old. It was because Hong Kong, the Institute hired Bill Sweetenham to come from Australia, and he had been Australia's national swim coach for about a decade. So once Bill came, I was starting to swim quite well. You know, I wasn't winning everything in Hong Kong, but I showed some promise, I suppose. And I joined the squad, and once Bill came, life turned upside down. So I started training every morning at about 5 o'clock. We would swim, so I'd get up at about 4-ish. Mum had to do everything beforehand. So luckily I had a very supportive family, and so I'd get up at about 4-ish, train from 5 to 7:30, and then go to school. I went to Diocesan Girls' School, which is not the easiest school, if any of you go to school here in Hong Kong. We had lots of homework, and I actually participated in a lot of other extracurricular activities. I was in the athletics team, the hockey team, the netball team, the drama team, the debating team, the choir, the orchestra. And then after school, I train again from about 4 to 6:45, 7 o'clock, go home, quickly do some homework, and then go to bed. I would do all my homework in free lessons or in recess and in lunchtime. You just had to be really, really disciplined. And time management was very, very important. I would travel quite a lot. I forgot to mention earlier, actually, my Olympic experience was slightly unconventional. Most athletes go to all these other games, and the pinnacle is the Olympic Games. I did the opposite. I went to the Olympic Games first, and then my goal was the Asian Games in 1994. So in the lead up to 94, I was quite often away for swim camps, for international competitions. And I had some great friends at school who would take notes for me. So whenever I came home, I could catch up very, very quickly. So yeah, that was, that was how it was for about a decade. And it was great. A little bit insane, but wonderful. And fortunately, I managed to achieve some decent results. And so I look back on that period with very, very fond memories.
Definitely. Good job. I think it was hard during that time, and not only physically or mentally. It was a challenge in terms of scheduling. Example, like in year 1999, my husband and I went to Australia for study, and during that period of time, I have to compete in a Olympic qualification event in New Caledonia, which clashed with my examination. And normally, the lecturer would allow us to move the exam either before the event or after the event. But based on the principle of fairness, and the lecturer only allow us to move the exam to New Caledonia. But I have to do the exam the same days as the others. On the exam day, my race was start at 9, and I finished all the races around 5. I was totally exhausted, but I still need to rush back to the hotel and get my paper done. And at that time, windsurfing team didn't have much budget. We were staying in a very small hotel, and they don't have a conference room or restaurant. So we ended up doing our exam in our tiny little room. And I remember my husband doing his paper on a bedside table. And while I bought a piece of cardboard, put it on top of the sink in the bathroom. That was a great example of our improvisation.
Do you think you are gifted at sports generally? And are you competitive in all aspects of your life?
I don't think I'm gifted. I mean, born become a gold medal. I actually, when I was young, I do think just like take it easy. 70% is fine. When I do all my exams, it's always like a 70. My marks always like 70, 68, something like that. And I didn't care about it. And since when I start windsurfing, my uncle told me that, first of all, if you want to do well, you have to change your attitude. So since then, I really love to be a good windsurfer. So I changed all my attitude and changed all my thinking. And also my coaches, Renee Apple, influenced me a lot. And he didn't know everything, so he just provide a lot of chances so that I can meet different people and learn from from them. For example, he will organize some I would say training camp with those world champions, so that we can learn from those world champions. So after he did all these kind of things, I realized that nothing is for free. We have to spend a lot of time to train hard, and someone really helped me to do that. Why not? I shouldn't waste all the chances. So there's change all my attitude and then start step by step learning every bit by bit.
I was probably the opposite of Sansan. I've been competitive since the day I was born. I was born into a very sporty family. My grandparents all played sport. My mom played hockey for Hong Kong. My dad was a good all-rounder, and my brother played cricket for Hong Kong. So I guess sports was always in the genes. Although I'm not sure we really thought it would go as far as I did. But I was interviewed when I was about 9 years old by the South China Morning Post And apparently, my mum made lots and lots of scrapbooks, so I still have this article. I decided when I was 9 years old that I was going to go to the Olympics. I don't know why, because I wasn't that great. But I said I wanted to go. So I set these lofty goals from a very, very young age, and just worked really, really hard. I have talent. I don't think I'm completely devoid of talent. But I think the difference was that I was willing to work really, really hard. In the 4 years leading up to the Asian Games, I did not miss a session. Come hell or high water, sickness, exams. DGS is not the easiest of schools, but I never missed a single training session, whether I was feeling ill, whether there were exams on, whether we had, anything, family events. And I would go the extra mile. At the end of every session or before every session, I'd be the first one at the pool and the last one to leave. Whether it was swimming an extra 200 meters, an extra 400 meters, doing a few more repetitions in the gym, I was that person. And so when it came to racing, at least in Hong Kong, when we stood on the blocks, I knew I had done more than every other person standing next to me. And I think that gave me a great deal of confidence. The competitive nature also helped. I hate losing. But we were taught, from a young age, Mom always drilled it into us. We had to win graciously and lose with grace as well. Competitive, yes, it's in me. Even to this day, I was joking. I think I was talking to David earlier. I said, I race with my 5-year-old to the car and I don't always let him win. So I think that speaks volumes.
What were the most difficult moments during your athletic career and what kept you going?
Swimming is one of those, I think swimming is quite a lonely sport. It's not an easy sport. I don't think there are too many sports where you have to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, for starters. I think training has changed a little bit for swimmers. They're a lot smarter about it. Before it was a lot about volume. I mean, aside from training 5-6 hours a day, we used to have these things called Hell Week, twice a year, where we would swim 150 kilometers in 1 week. Saying I don't walk 150 kilometers in a year these days. It's very lonely looking at the black line. Even though you're technically in a team, you're really lost in your own thoughts. And I had a really tough coach. He was very, very experienced. He knew exactly what each swimmer needed. So I needed to be kicked. I needed to be pushed. And he was really, really tough on me. So there was one time we were at the Pan Pacific Championships in Kobe, and I was supposed to do really, really well. I trained well, but I missed making the final by a smidgen. And so he was furious. He was absolutely livid. And so when I went to the warm down pool, he made me swim the 400 again and again and again till I was supposed to make the time, the cutoff time for the final. Of course, with each passing swim, I got more and more tired, so it went slower and slower. He was screaming at me. The whole pool was watching us. It was really embarrassing. And then the next morning, I had to get up before the day's competition and do it again. I mean, it really toughens you up. And so it's really prepared me for all of other life challenges, as we've gotten older and things happen. But yeah. It was great. I mean, I can look back now. I mean, Bill's like my guardian. He's like my dad. And he lives in Australia. And when we go down every single year, it's great to catch up. I talk to him on a daily basis. And we laugh at this, and I really feel that it was character building. And it's really made me into the person who I am today.
Just want to share experience with you. The incident happened in 2004 Athens Olympic. At the beginning of the event, I had a very good chance to win a medal. And after 4 races done, I was leading in the overall ranking. And in the 5th race, unfortunately, I got disqualified, being a premature starter. And when I received the news, and I was really angry because there's few sailors were in front of me and didn't get disqualified. I started search for evidence. However, jury not accepted, and I was really frustrated. I always emphasize on the importance on obeying the rules. That's which why made me hard to accept the penalty. For the rest of the race, I kept interfered by the penalty. I lost all my concentration and didn't focus at all and forgot what I have to do in the race. And at the end of the event, I finished fourth. When I'm looking back to the event, I shouldn't let the penalty get into my head. Although it may be a mistake, and I should let it go and learn how to accept it. So that was my hard time in my sport career.
What reforms, if any, would you like to see in the game rules of your field? So windsurfing for Sansan and swimming for Robin.
Swimming is very straightforward. I think that's one of the things I really like about swimming. It's not subjective. It's you and the clock, and you're in your own lane, nobody can disturb you. I think the only thing that swimming has really changed, there was only one controversial period, maybe in 2008, 2009, when we had the swimsuits. They were very buoyant, and so if you look at the record, the world record table, actually, there's still quite a lot of world records from 2008, 2009. But aside from that, it's been pretty straightforward. We don't really have any controversial. Yeah, it's quite boring in that sense. There's nothing exciting to talk about. That was it. That was really it. It was just the swimsuit. Aside from that, I think I like that about swimming. It's just you and the clock.
Before year 1993, pumping were not allowed in all sailing events, including windsurfing. Pumping, just like you let yourself in and out as a fan. So it helps your acceleration or increase your board speed. When umpire saw you pumping, penalty were given to the sailor. As you know, we all stand on a sailboard. When a wave hits, we might need to move the sail to balance. So it is hard to judge whether you are balancing or pumping. And some sailors were pumping where they were not caught by the umpire, and while the others were misjudged. There's a lot of argument on that rules before 1993, and at the end, based on the principle of fairness, the Sailing Federation decided to change cancel the rule in 1993, and I think it is a fair decision because umpire not able to make a fair judgment, may as well to leave it open. And also, pumping requires physical fitness and techniques as well. So if you want to master the pumping technique, it takes a number of hours to train for it. I would say over the years, the Sailing Federation has been doing a lot on improving or providing fair environments for athletes. I really appreciate that.
So Sansan, it's been 25 years since you won the gold medal. And I'm sure you've been longing for someone else to win a second gold medal for Hong Kong. And this came true 3 days ago. Draganov did it in the men's foil fencing competition. What do you think about the sports development in Hong Kong? Is there anything that the government or corporations can do to improve sports development so that we can get even more gold medals in the future?
Okay, today is July 29th, right? 25 years ago, that was the day I won the medal. So it's a in general, in Hong Kong, I think we lack of sports culture, and starting from family, school, community, or even corporate and government support. Country like US, they have a very well developed sport culture, which create a strong feeder system. So creating generation after generation of potential athletes to achieve good results. And also winning a medal is, involved a lot of people's effort in a long period of time. And the basic component, of course, is must be include like financial support, technology, or sports science, and athlete ability. And the crucial area should be the athlete's performance during the actual games, whether they are able to cope with the pressure, whether they are able to change their strategy or tactics according to different situation. So as Clara mentioned that we won, the Hong Kong team won a gold medal. Edgar, the fencer, is a good example. He spent like 16 years to achieve the goal. And also, I remember in one of his races, he was behind and few points behind. And he was able to stay calm and change his tactics accordingly. And finally, he won the race and also brought us a gold medal. So far, we have 1 gold, 1 silver in the Tokyo Olympic. I think tomorrow we might have 2 more. So maybe let's cheer for them, right?
How did you feel when you retired from competitive sports? So Sansan, was it mentally difficult coming down from a high of, an Olympic gold medal? And was it difficult readjusting back to normal life after your Olympic win?
I didn't have any difficulty to change, but I think so far for me is okay because my husband support me a lot. But I think in general, for retired athlete, when I retired as an athlete, there was no support at all, and retired athlete has to take care of their education or career on their own. And then I remember there were lots of retired athletes complaining they couldn't find a job due to lack of working experience. And nowadays, the Sport Federation and Olympic Committee in Hong Kong, and they have a program called Hong Kong Athletes Career Education Program, which helps retired athletes on career and education. Okay, tonight we have a lot of senior management here. May I take this opportunity, invite you all to support this program. Provide them an opportunity to work in your corporate or as a mentor so that they can learn from you all. Please. Thank you.
I retired when I was 21. Actually, there was a mini retirement after 17 as well, because I managed a silver and a bronze at the Asian Games in 1994 when I was 17, and then my swim coach left Hong Kong, and so I had a period of adjustment where I wasn't working well with the coaches in Hong Kong. I was questioning everything that they said to me. I didn't really give them a good chance, and it kind of came around and bit me in the bum because I missed out on Atlanta by 0.02. I missed qualifying. So that was in an athlete's career, that's the Olympics is the biggest platform, and so to miss out after having been to Barcelona and after having just won a medal, a couple years before at the Asian Games, it was a big blow. So that took some adjusting. Then I picked myself up and swam for another 2 years. And but at the end of the Asian Games in '98, I knew it was time to go. I'm very much an all or nothing person, and with a sport like swimming, or any sport really, when you're devoting so much time and energy to it, I feel you really need to love it. And I knew I was still swimming very well. Don't get me wrong, I was still swimming personal bests and stuff, but I didn't love it, and I was ready to walk away. So I didn't actually have any downtime, so to speak. I didn't have to adjust life too much, I dove straight into academics. And then I went on and did 3 or 4 degrees. So that was pretty much it. It was sort of just one phase moving on to another phase. But like Sansan said, I know there are a lot of athletes who struggle because it feels like they lose their identity after devoting 100% of themselves to something for so many years. I mean, we trained 4 years, 8 years, 10 years, 12 years for one tiny little race. At the Asian Games in '94, I didn't expect to win an individual medal, but we were really going for the relay. I was the anchor leg, and I trained those 4 years just for that less than 1 minute. When I was watching Sansan's video, it was, I think she must have remembered every single moment, from 25 years ago. Just as I was saying, I won my medal in 1994, 27 years ago, and I still, to this moment, remember every single second of the lead up, waiting on pool deck, the swim, diving into the water. We were losing to Korea by about a body length and a half, and I had to chase. I remember every single moment, the numbness in my teeth, my numb fingers, my numb forearms, and I still get goosebumps. It sounds quite crazy, but I think when you devote so much of yourself to that one thing and to be able to achieve it, it's a wonderful feeling. And so, yeah, like Sansan said, it might be well worth investing in some athletes because it takes a lot of guts and it takes a lot of mental and physical toughness to become a good professional athlete. And those are attributes that will definitely prove useful in the workplace if they're given a chance. A lot of swimmers just end up being swim coaches, and I never wanted to be a swim coach. I didn't want to wake up at 4 a.m. anymore. Go to bed at 4 a.m., no problem. Wake up at 4, no thank you.
I know you're both mothers now. I love being a mom, but it takes a lot of hard work. So there are moments when I think that it's actually more challenging than my daytime job. How about you? Are there moments when you think that being a mom is more challenging than being an athlete?
Okay, being a mother face more challenge than an athlete. Actually, you can plan your training or racing schedule ahead, or you can kind of like predict what you will face. But being a mother, there were lots of things that are out of your control, and also there's no instruction on how to raise a child. So we have to learn step by step with them. One example, like 2 years ago, I was planning to send my 2 girls to US or Canada for study, and we brought them to visit the school. At that time, they told me that, we're not ready. Oh, okay, that's fine. And then last November, my younger daughter told me that she wants to study in UK, and I never brought them to UK, and she was only 14 years old, and she searched all the information, and she decided which school she wants to stay in. So this is one thing that's one of the many examples that mom will face different, predictable situation, and I always like in control and always like to plan everything ahead. But as a mother, it is impossible.
I think being a mother is easier than being an athlete. I do. Joking aside, it was a surprise when we found out that Kyle was deaf. He failed his screening on day 3 of after he was born, and everyone just sort of said, "Oh, don't worry, there's no history of hearing loss. He'll be fine. There's probably just water in his ear." But proper tests at 2 months showed that he was profoundly deaf in both ears. So that was devastating. New mother, first-time mother, hormonal. I didn't really know what to do. So I was really, really distraught for a couple of days. But then Action Stations Robin kicked in, and it was all about, getting him all the help that he needed, finding the best doctors, getting therapy lined up, doing everything in my power to ensure that he would have the best life possible. But it was very worrying. I was concerned I would have to learn sign language. I was worried I wouldn't be able to communicate with him. I was worried that people would bully him, when he grew up. All these it's very easy for, negative thoughts to come sweeping in. But I think after so many years of training and as an athlete, you learn to be open-minded. You learn to take things in your stride. You learn to win. You learn to lose. You learn to look on the bright side of life, of everything. And I think positive thinking is something that really you need to work at. It's not something that comes naturally. It's something that you really have to train your brain, because it's quite easy to sink into the negative. It's almost like an instinctive thing, like fight or flight. And so that was very much the case with Kyle. But we're very, very fortunate because I'm surrounded by people who are wonderful. The amount of love and support that I received from friends and family all over the world enabled me to do what I needed to do, To this day, he's great. Now he's 5 years old. He just turned 5. He talks nonstop. He has me as a mother. He's social, he's happy, he's confident. To be honest, every single day he cheats people. No one would believe he was deaf. And it's been wonderful to use what tiny little bit of fame I still have to raise awareness about this sort of stuff. Not just about deafness, but we all face challenges in life in different shapes and forms. And it's really a question of how you choose to face them head on. It would have been easy to sink into despair and sort of hide away for months at a time, but we chose to take action. And so Kyle had his cochlear implant operation done when he was about 9.5 months old, bilaterally, and so yeah, it's been a wonderful learning curve. Before he was born, I had all these plans, like we thought he was going to take this route, and now he guides us on the route. But we're very fortunate that that life, everything has come very smoothly. Like he's developed wonderfully. He plays loads of sports. He plays basketball, he plays tennis, he swims, he plays golf, and no one would know he has, this special set of magic ears. We call him his magic ears. And it's a wonderful opportunity actually to try and help others, who are facing different sorts of life challenges as well. And it's been very gratifying to have people come up after there've been some of these programs done and bits and articles here and there to say that this is giving them hope, because I think as a mother, at my most hopeless, I had people come up to give me strength when I needed it. In my darkest hour, I had people coming telling me everything's going to be fine. Kyle is loved. He is going to be absolutely fine. And he is. And so I think gratitude is also something that I take with me every single day. There's always something to be grateful for. And it's very much the case with him every day.